What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with episode Just Jets number 218. There we go, 218 of Just Jets. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in as we are inching so close to the 2024 NFL Draft. It is my favorite time of year. I love the NFL Draft. It's so much fun. 3 days, I'll be live streaming with Ryan and Green Bean over on the Talkin' Jets channel. Thursday night, Friday night, and all day Saturday. It's a marathon. It's 3 really long days, but it's so much fun. We always get a huge audience of people hanging out. And we're doing our first ever in-person event. Really looking forward to that. We're going to get a good turnout of Jet fans. We have like 65 people coming out to hang with us and watch the New York Jets make their first selection. Going to be really, really cool. So looking forward to that. Thank you to everyone who is going to come to that event as well. But we still got to talk some draft. It's time for the NFL Draft. So let's talk about what I think, final predictions on what the Jets are going to do. Mock Draft Monday was very prediction heavy this last episode. It wasn't so much of what I think is going to do, but more so of what I think, or rather not what I would do, instead what I think is going to happen. And that's what today is going to be about. From the voicemails as well, going to be a lot of draft questions, understandably so. But I kind of just want to go through and give you where I'm at currently with what I think is going to happen. So the Jets have pick number 10. And in round 1, I think we're going to see the Jets go with a weapon. This is, again, what I think is going to happen, not necessarily what I would do. But I really have this strong feeling that Rome Odunze is going to end up being the pick. Whether they, one of two things, trade up 2 spots to get him, because let's be honest, you got to jump Chicago or that Chicago pick. You know, Chicago could be looking to trade back or stay and take Rome Odunze. If the Jets are there at number 10 and Odunze falls to them, I think it's because someone is trading up into the top 8 or 9 with either Atlanta or Chicago and going a different direction. Bowers, one of the top corner off the board, top edge off the board, things like that. But I don't know. The NFL Draft is weird. It never, ever, ever goes how we think it's going to go. It's so easy to, put out these mock drafts and say, hey, here's what I think is going to happen. Here's what we're hearing. And then it's completely out of left field. Someone you don't expect to be there will be there way later. Jermaine Johnson being there at pick 26, 2 years ago, is a perfect example of that. I just think we never know. So if it's not Odunze, I will say I do think Bowers would be the next most likely. If I was to rank it, I would go wide receiver, Bowers, O-line 3 for what I think is going to happen. Who knows? Maybe they call an audible and it's like, you fools, we were talking about Talisi Fuanga for months, and then after free agency, nobody talked about him ever again, and that's who we just ended up with. Or, of course, we want Troy Fautanu. Do we not see how versatile he is? Maybe that's what ends up happening, and then I come on with egg on my face, which not really. I wouldn't be embarrassed or upset about it because, as I've said for a really long time now on this channel, I think that the Jets, if they go with a weapon or offensive line, I think it's a home run. I think you make a strong case for either one of those things. So pick your poison. My guess is it's going to be Rome Odunze. I do think there's a world where he makes it to the Jets at pick number 10, as wild as that is. But them going weapon in round 1 shouldn't really be all that surprising. I understand, Joe Douglas, he's a former offensive lineman himself, and he talks about building through the trenches a lot. But something Joe Douglas also really likes is weapons. They drafted Garrett Wilson at 10. They traded up to draft Breece Hall. He's taken a running back every single year. He's taken, Denzel Mims in the second round, Elijah Moore in the second round. They've taken offensive players early. And last year, supposedly they were very, very high on Jahmyr Gibbs. And then also Michael Mayer, the tight end who went to the Raiders last year. So they like weapons. They really do. So don't put it past the Jets to do that. And that's where I think it ends up. My next prediction is that, assuming they're going to go with the weapon in the first round, then the question is, well, when are they going to get their offensive line depth? I'll say either third or fourth round, I think that would be like, so if the Jets go, let's play the game that they go weapon at 10, and then they stick and pick with their 3 picks in rounds 3 and 4, no second rounder. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw a defensive player come off the board in the 3rd round, which is probably earlier than some would like, and maybe that was actually the next one on my list, which is prepare for more defensive players coming off the board than you might think. So we'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a second, but I think either the 3rd or 4th round is where we see the Jets come away with some offensive line depth, and I think they're going to go for a versatile player, maybe someone who has played tackle in college, but maybe projects a little bit more as a guard. Someone who could play multiple positions, someone who's played on multiple sides of the line. Dominic Pooney out of Kansas seems to really fit that bill. That's a name that I mocked to the New York Jets this past week in my mock draft predictions on Monday, and it would not shock me if the Jets go that direction. But if they do go with a wide receiver, tight end in round 1, I would expect that with one of their next 2 picks, they would go to the offensive line after that. As I did say, prepare for more defensive players coming. You might see someone as early as 72 in the 3rd round be a defensive player. Positions to watch, safety and interior defensive line are the 2 that really jump out to me. And honestly, on day 3, watch out for that cornerback. They really like to go with the defensive backs that are projects on day 3. I think that's something that we could absolutely see again, especially when you consider how the Jets drafted last year. They went best player on their board in their eyes, and they went Will McDonald at pick number 15 on the defensive line. And that was kind of in preparation if we can't keep Bryce Huff. And I think with Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, how he spoke after losing Bryce Huff, they were both kind of not the happiest about it, but, you know, they kind of made their bed a little bit, I guess, with how they handled things a year ago. I think there's a chance that they could move on from DJ Reed after this year. And I love DJ Reed. I don't want to trade him. My preference would be to extend DJ Reed. But maybe there's a world where they have to choose between one of Michael Carter in the slot and DJ Reed outside. And they go, all right, let's pay Michael Carter the slot corner because slots are usually cheaper than outside corners, and we feel we could either sign someone on the secondary market similar to what they did in DJ Reed to pair with Sauce Gardner, or we can draft someone on day 3 that we feel comfortable about developing, because we've been able to do that very well on the defensive side of the ball. So I think watch out for corner, but I think we get a couple swings at defensive back, either safety or corner there. Especially, you have a pick in the 6th round. You have 7th round pick as well. Well, you have 2 picks in the 6th round, right? Because the Zach Wilson trade and the pick swap, so you move up 50 spots. You have a bunch of picks on day 3 of the draft this year. I think it's time to be aggressive at some key positions, and safety, interior defensive line, and even corner could do that. And the last prediction that I'll give you, and then we'll get into the voicemails. We got a lot of voicemails to get into and dive into today, is that I do think the Jets go with a developmental quarterback, especially after trading Zach Wilson. They are going to need a 3rd quarterback on this roster. And you have Aaron Rodgers, love that. You have Tyrod Taylor, legit backup quarterback for the next 2 years. I think they're going to add someone in the 4th round. And my guess is it's been both predictive and what I would do. I think Michael Pratt is going to be the one that they like the most. Jordan Travis is definitely a name to watch. I think Spencer Rattler probably goes a little bit higher than what they would like. But Pratt or Jordan Travis are going to be the 2 names that I put out there to watch. And for me, I think Michael Pratt is the one that ends up being the quarterback that they take. Sit him for a couple years, and who knows? I'm not saying that whoever they take on, in the 3rd, 4th round, like, oh, that's it. That's our guy. He's going to sit behind Rodgers for 2 years, and, future of the quarterback position is fixed. It's not that easy. If it was that easy, every single team would do it. If it was that easy, the Jets wouldn't have missed hundreds of times seemingly in the top half of the draft. So I think it's always worth taking that chance and that flyer on it. But Michael Pratt, I think, is going to end up being the name who gets called at pick 111, round 4, pick 111. Michael Pratt to the New York Jets. Maybe it's Jordan Travis, but my guess, I'm going to go with Michael Pratt, and he sits for a couple years. And we get to watch him in training camp. And we get to watch him a lot in the preseason, and he gets to sit and learn and develop that way. All right, let's get into those voicemails now. We're going to get started with Jonathan calling in from South Carolina. First-time caller. Let's hear him.
Hey, Matt. Longtime viewer of your channel on YouTube, first-time caller. I'm Jonathan from South Carolina. I've been a lifelong Jets fan. And so here's my piece on the draft. What if we live in a world, because the NFL draft is always crazy, what if we live in a world where you trade back, let's say, with the Raiders, the Saints, the Colts, somewhere in that mid-teens, and you recoup your second-round pick that you want, and somehow, some way, Brock Bowers is still on the board? Are you still, 100% going, best O-line available? Or, does that entice you to take Brock Bowers knowing that you have a second-round pick and a deep offensive tackle class? And, with Douglas acquiring Reddick for a 2026 second-rounder, that tells me that the 2025 second-rounder is on the board to go in on an all-in year. So you could even, maybe you could find a trade partner for your 2025 second and your 2024 second that you acquired via trade in the draft, and go back maybe up, maybe in the low 20s or maybe at the top of the second in the high 30s, and just go ahead and get maybe a Jordan Morgan Falls, or, someone like that. But I just wanted to share my piece on that and see what you thought of, what happens if we trade back and Brock Bowers is somehow still on the board. Thanks a lot, Matt, and go Jets.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for calling in. If the Jets do move back, my guess would be that it's not going to be very far, and it would be for maybe one of, like, you have Denver, the Saints, and the Raiders kind of all there. If they can't get up into the top 5 to get a quarterback, maybe one of them really likes Bo Nix or Michael Penix. I don't know. I don't love either of those quarterbacks, but maybe one of them do, and they move up and they trade. And the Jets drop 3 spots and pick up an additional pick, and then, 3 spots later, Brock Bowers is still there. I don't know. And who knows? Maybe I go back and change my mind on this again. But as of right now, there's really not a ton of rumblings about the Jets moving back. It's obvious that, without the second rounder, maybe that's something that they could look to do. But I think if Odunze or Bowers is there at pick number 10, I think that's the direction that they're going to go. And I don't know if they take that gamble of moving back down the board, if weapon is really what they want. If offensive line's what they want, then they're going to have multiple options on the offensive line, and then could end up trading back, and you get your pick that way. That's my preference. I would move back, get an offensive lineman, and take a receiver in the second round, but I don't think that's what's going to end up happening on this one. But if they do move back and Bowers is still there, then yeah, I think they run up the card, and they're happy that, they moved back, got extra capital, and still got someone that they really like. Let's go out to Joe calling in from Tom's River, and he wants to talk some Brock Bowers as well.
What's up, Matt? This is Joe from Tom's River, long-time listener, first-time caller. Happy I could find the line. But I had a couple questions for you, man. So obviously the Jets draft at 10, draft's right around the corner. It's a very exciting time. Get and who you want to get, because I think we'll end up getting an O-lineman, but I'm desperate for Brock Bowers. I think he's going to be fantastic, and I'm definitely in the Bowers fan club. And also another thing that no one's really talked about in terms of the Jets' future is the Patriots lingering at pick 3. They could do a lot with that pick. They could go Marvin Harrison. They could end up getting their next franchise quarterback for the next 20 years, or they could draft a bust like we did. So I want to know who you think the Patriots will draft and who you want them to draft from a Jets point of view. Again, longtime fan. Happy I could be calling in. Have a good day, bud.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So a few really good points in here. I think, and we align kind of opposite in this one. Your preference is Bowers and you think they're going to go offensive line. My preference is offensive line, but I think they're going to go with a weapon, either receiver or Bowers. And, you know, you don't have to sell me on the Brock Bowers hype. Like, he's a really unique football player, would add a really fun skill set to this team. And we see all these, you know, teams around the league just have boatloads and boatloads of, you know, weapons in their arsenal that make them such a dangerous offense. Now, really good point, too, with the Patriots having a really big impact on this. I guess my answer there would be Jaden Daniels. I don't like him as much as Drake May. Like, I think there's some bust potential with Jaden Daniels, but I do think he's going to go to Washington number 2 overall. He played in the SEC and put up really good numbers his last year, which you got to give him credit for. And he's dynamic with the football in his hands. He throws the hell out of the football, but he played with some really nice pockets. And every once in a while, he puts plays on tape, and you're like, this is a real head scratcher for, you know, someone that's going to go in the top 5. Really good traits, and that's what gets people drafted so high is the traits. And then a GM or coaching staff that goes, oh, I can get this guy to play a certain way and, you know, not make those mistakes that we saw or come up on tape. And then sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Worked with Josh Allen. Josh Allen was raw as hell coming out of school. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Worked with Patrick Mahomes, incredibly raw coming out. Best quarterback in football. Didn't work with Zach Wilson, didn't work with Trey Lance. And I'm sure that it didn't work with Justin Fields. I'm sure there's going to be more examples as well. Thank you, Joe, for calling. Let's go Adam calling up next. And let's see what Adam has to say.
Yo, it's Adam from Long Island. Only thing I got to say about the Jets and the draft, I think we need as much things as we can get from anybody. I think that trading down is honestly great play. Like, if you look at our offensive line right now, most of these guys, even outside of Tyron Smith, I mean, we just signed him, but we just signed him to a 1-year deal. Most of these guys are signed to like 1 or 2 year deals. I mean, obviously we could have like probably extend some of them, but I think we need more people everywhere. Aaron Rodgers is getting old. We don't really have a backup quarterback, and we don't have a QB for the future. We need to start thinking about these things. And how are we going to get these things if we don't even have an offensive line? You know what I mean, bro? So that's what I'm thinking about, yo. Love the show. Peace, peace, peace.
Thank you. I appreciate the call in. And I get the want for the offensive line. I really do, guys. Like, I'd be totally on board with doing it. And if they don't, and if they do go with a weapon, it definitely helps the Jets more in 2024 going that route. But you're going to be in a spot where you're going to need 2 new tackles in 2025. You could do free agency in the draft, but you're kind of just kicking the can down the road a little bit here. So I love the idea of trading down and then taking a swing on the line and the wide receiver room. I just don't know. I don't know if that's how it's going to work out. I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think we see them go with a weapon in the first round. I do think it's going to be either Rome Odunze or Brock Bowers. As of today, recording this, I do think Rome is going to end up being the pick with the Jets. And I think Jet fans should be really excited about that. That's not to say that you can't be concerned about the O-line depth. It's not to say that you can't be concerned about the future of the position. You can. But they're going for it with Aaron Rodgers, and I get it. I understand why they're doing that. Let's do Constantine from PA. You thought he was happy last week. How do you think he feels after the Jets traded Zach Wilson?
Hey, Matty, Constantine from PA. Appreciate the good words for me last week. Thanks.
Love it.
But I got to tell you, man, if you thought I was in a good mood last week, I'm in a great mood today. I woke up this morning, the sun was shining, the birds were chirping, my cereal tasted great, and I look at my phone, and guess what? Zach Wilson is off the Jets and to the Denver Broncos. Hallelujah! Thank God. Now we could move on with a real plan. Aaron Rodgers starting, and we still have the backup quarterback that we just got from the Giants. I think we can maybe do something in the draft to pick up another quarterback, maybe somebody who could learn from Rodgers, take a little time, no rush. But let me tell you something. I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders, and I'm sure a lot of Jet fans feel the same way. I'm just extremely, extremely excited now. I'm anticipating a good start. I'm anticipating a great training camp. I want Aaron Rodgers to be iron-focused, healthy, and I want our team to win. We deserve it. We've been Jet fans,
Amen,
long-suffering for a long time, and we deserve this. We own the right to be happy. We're dedicated. We don't put up with shit. We don't put up with any kind of BS. We try to look at the positives even when there's a lot of negatives. But I got to tell you, today was a major positive. So let's all move on. Let's get excited. I can't wait to see opening day. I can't wait to see the Jets without him on the sideline. And the bottom line is whoever made that call made the right call. Sometimes you just got to admit that you made a mistake. You got to move on, and you just got to make the best of the situation. And that's what we're doing. And I couldn't be happier. As far as the draft is concerned, a couple of days away. I'm still thinking we're going to go with our tight end from Georgia.
Bowers.
But if we don't, that's okay. There's plenty of good players in the draft. We got a good nucleus on offense right now. We got a fantastic defense coming back. I'm telling you, my attitude has changed 110%. And yes, this is the real me. This is Constantine from PA, formerly Constantine from Florida. So, with that in mind, I'm going to give a nice big J-E-T-S, Jets, 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 let's go. I'm back, baby.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love the positivity there. Knew you'd be happy after the Zach Wilson trade because it was overdue. They needed to move on. It's unfortunate that it didn't work out. I said it in the video earlier in the week when the news broke. I wanted the Jets to draft Zach Wilson. I wanted to see him in year 2 after year 1. I didn't think it was fair to be like, all right, this kid's like, he can't play 3 games in his career. Like, well, like, hold on. A 2-year window is enough to look at. We saw 2 years. It wasn't very pretty. They went out and they got Aaron Rodgers. We praised them for going out and getting Aaron Rodgers. Zach Wilson was supposed to sit. He doesn't. He has to play. He still doesn't play well in year 3. Good luck in Denver. I'm not really all that concerned that Zach Wilson's going to have this career renaissance. That, this is the same thing that people said with Sam Darnold. The Joe Brady and Matt Rule were going to fix him. He's bounced around the league. Kyle Shanahan was going to fix him. He looked like the same guy in San Francisco. And it goes on and on and on. For every Geno Smith, there's 10 other examples of guys who you move on from and you never hear from them again. And I don't think Zach Wilson is going to go from putting up similar numbers to Jamarcus Russell in his first 3 years in the league to being a plus starting quarterback. Seems pretty unlikely. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. And as for the close with the draft, where you're like, I think they're going to go Brock Bowers, but if they don't, there's a good player there. I was on Instagram before when I was eating my lunch, and someone who I really respect a lot, Connor Rogers, he works at a billion different places, but I saw his big board that was put out, his top 10 players. Marvin Harrison Jr. 1, Caleb 2, Joe Alt 3, Neighbors 4, Bowers 5, May 6, Fashanu 7, Fotanu 8, Odunze 9, and Talisi Fuunga 10. Let's say take the quarterbacks out because unlikely they're going to be there. But if the Jets come away in this draft with either, staying put at 10 or trading up even, Marvin Harrison Jr., Joe Alt, Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers, Fashanu Fatanu, Odunze, or Fuanga, I think we should be happy. Those are 10 legitimate guys right there, and then exclude the quarterback, so you take out, what, two guys on that list? So there are 8 players that were just listed as top 10 prospects that the Jets could come away with in this draft on the offensive side of the ball. It's okay to be excited. You are allowed to be excited about that. Peter from the beautiful Hudson Valley is next with a mock.
Hey, Matt. It's Peter from the beautiful sunny Hudson Valley today. Calling in a little later than I was originally planning, since the news broke just as I was about to originally call you, that Zach Wilson is now a Bronco.
There we go.
Thank God. It's finally over. Sorry that we didn't do him well enough as a Jet, but I'm also glad that he'll get a fresh start in Denver. So we pick up pick 203, it looks like, and we give up pick 256. So a little higher draft capital, at least, to work with in mocks now. I started to do a new mock based on that. I still think if we stay at 10, obviously, if either Rome Odunze or Brock Bowers is there, just pick a weapon and go with it. At 72, if they stay at that position, then obviously get yourself the best tackle that's available. If it's Puny, if it's that guy Kieran, I can never pronounce his name, the one out of Yale, go with something like that so you get, an extra body to back up on the offensive line. If they get extra picks because they trade back a little bit, I still wouldn't mind seeing them actually go with Brian Thomas Jr. if they trade back in the first round and give themselves either a second or third. If they do get an extra third, obviously then the combination of having that pick plus 111 and 134, you can go with Michael Pratt, you can go with Braylon Allen, the running back, you can go with Mason Smith, or even Dwayne Carter on the defensive line. Of course, the one that I like the most at 111, if he's available, is Hunter Norzad, the center / guard / tackle out of Penn State, to be that flexible Swiss Army knife in the middle. And then after that, if you got still 185 and 203 available, pick, the best cornerback or safety that you feel is available at that point. I like your guy Dominic Hampton from your mock draft. Jalen Simpson's a corner / safety out of Auburn. That's not bad.
Yep.
You got plenty of options. So the biggest thing that you've got to take away from all this as a Jets fan, and I think you'll agree, it's that by the time the draft is over and you sign some undrafted free agents as well, this roster is going to be better. And then they're going to look at it again after they restructure contracts and everything else and try and, sign some other veterans to fill in any other spots that are left. And then you get to training camp in the preseason and you shake it all out and see how it lands. It's going to be a better roster than last year. It's going to be the best roster probably to date and should be able to get to the playoffs. And that's what we want. So let's go Jets. And I hope to hear from Constantine again with another positive call.
There you go.
That Zach Wilson's been traded. Bye.
He nailed it. He called it. We called him a couple hours after, about 4 hours, not even 3.5 hours after we had the Constantine call in. So good. Love that. See, even the callers they're in on the bits here on the program. Things you love to see. I like your mock. And just going over the different directions that the Jets could go. And a lot of similar names because it's people, one, the Jets have met with, but also just positions that make sense. Weapon first, and then either, Pooney, Rosengarten, the other tackle from Washington. In the mid-rounds, the Blake Fisher from Notre Dame. There's a bunch of ways that the Jets could go. Braylon Allen's a really popular mock draft name, and if the Jets do take a running back, that would be the one that I would like because he is just a big bruising force. He would complement what Brees and Izzy do really well. They could also just sign Ezekiel Elliott or another back on the market, which that's another very valuable point that our guy Peter brings up here, is that even after the draft is over, rosters aren't done. You could just still do your restructures. You could still shake some things around and come away with some extra cash like the Jets got from the Zach Wilson trade. And you could sign a Connor McGovern to bring back for depth, or David Bakhtiari, or I mentioned Ezekiel Elliott, but maybe there's someone on the defensive side of the ball at a position that you'd like to bring back. Maybe you want to bring back Quan Alexander. I don't know. Just tossing stuff out there. You have the ability to do that, and we'll really have a better idea come like training camp, really, July and August, of what this roster is going to look like. PG wants to talk draft. PG, what do you got, my friend?
Hello, Matt O'Leary. PG from Long Island here.
How are you, sir?
A few things. One, again, I'm looking forward to meeting you in person on Thursday.
Yes.
It's going to be, I'm really looking forward to it. Should be a very fun night, exciting. Two, interesting, Mekhi Becton is still not signed. That's part of the reason why the Jets at this point are not getting a compensatory pick for Bryce Huff. I think they need to sign one or two more free agents to get that pick. And interesting that with all the needs of offensive linemen in the league, that Becton is still unsigned, but it is what it is. It's mock draft season. I'm not going to give you my mock draft. I don't have one. I'm not very good at predicting things. I can predict when my wife is going to get mad at me and take the over. But here's what I would like to see happen. I'd like to see the Jets trade back if they get a chance. Pick up some more draft capital, second or third round. Still get, an offensive tackle or maybe even Brock Bowers. Two, if they stay at 10 and Odunze is available, love to see them take him. That would be my first choice. If he's not available, then take the best offensive lineman they have on the board. That'd be my third choice. And then Brock Bowers, I would not be, upset with them drafting him. Two-time Mackey Award winner, consensus probably best tight end in the history of college football. And then trade up and grab Harrison or Neighbors or even Alt if that's what they think they want to do. Either way, is with the number 10 pick and so much talent in the front end of this draft, I don't think there's a bad play they can make. We're going to get some talent. What I think is going to happen is I have no idea. I don't have a freaking clue. That's what makes this draft so exciting. There's so many possibilities that, the anticipation, I just don't know. I just know it's going to be fun to watch. And maybe you have an idea, Matt, of what's going to happen, but let me know. And in any case, go Jets.
Yeah, really appreciate it. It's right now, again, I think they're gonna, just my feel of what I'm seeing and just what I think is gonna happen. I think they're gonna go with a weapon in the first round, but there really are so many ways that they can go about it in this draft. There is no really good way to know, and I'm excited to meet you as well, PG, down at the main event in Farmingdale on Long Island. It's going to be a really good group of people, and we're going to be live streaming it. So, like I said before, 60-something Jet fans going to be out there, and there will be thousands of watching with us online. It's so much fun, and, I'm starting to get feelings like the 2022 draft. 2022 draft was my favorite of the ones that we've broadcast. One, because we had 3 first-round pick reactions, which was awesome, but a ton of really great picks. That draft class panned out really, really nicely. And last year just felt, if it was weird, it was a weird draft class. They went with Will McDonald, which none of us expected. That was a great reaction, but none of us expected it. And then after that, you thought they'd go center, and they do. They just took Tippmann, which was a little bit of a surprise, but I like Joe Tippmann, have no ill will with that pick. And the rest of that class is just a little bit like, they didn't get a whole lot out of it. Who knows? Maybe this year I'm a little bit more confident. I think it's good. I think Joe Douglas is setting himself up for a really good spot here. We're going to close with Billy Bilstein talking NFL draft.
Hello, Matthew O'Leary. This is Billy Bilstein calling from Boca. I wanted to tell you what's going on. before the draft, so you're well prepared for the big draft party.
Oh, yeah.
The Jets have several options, and it depends which side of the fence JD stands on. On one hand, you can go the Dane O route. I don't like Dane O, but I can't argue with his take. Offensive line is very important, and we need depth. Then there's the people who just want Romo or Dunze. I don't know if he's good or not, but if JD likes him, we have to trust in JD. It would be nice to get Neighbors, but having to trade up for him would be disappointing. Remember, we got Joe Tipman in the second round last year. So not having a second round pick is very disappointing.
Okay. That's about all I could take on Bill. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate you, Billy. They could move back, get the second round pick because of guys like Joe Tipman. That is definitely a good way to go about doing this. It is. If you want to do both, if you want to swing at line and wide receiver in the top 50, and you got to move back to get that second round pick. They traded for Aaron Rodgers, which we praised them for, and it ended up being a second round pick in this year's draft. So they don't have it. You could either get creative and try to get it a second rounder, or get aggressive and try to help your team out with the top 10 pick that you do have, and maybe use future assets to move up and get a better player even in the top 10, jump up to the top 8 or top 5. We'll see what they'll do. They have a ton of different options in the NFL draft. Guys, I appreciate you hanging out with me for another episode of Just Jets. Make sure to subscribe before you go. Like the video if you're a YouTube person. If you're an audio person, make sure to leave a rating and a review. Really helps out a lot. I'm Matt O'Leary. I'll catch you guys next time.